This is Chats Over Coffee with My Yoga Teacher, a podcast where a comedian talks to his yoga teacher, just in case you had no idea what you'd let yourself in for. So yeah, here comes the show.
Let me just fix this spelling mistake on this post, and then I will talk to you.
Alright.
Where is it? There. Okay.
Right.
I can't leave it. Once I see it, I have to fix it.
So you must be feeling good after handing in your coursework.
I'm feeling something.
You're still coming down from it, like...
Yeah, I've just felt really today.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. I did a restorative class, which was quite nice. I always enjoy that. And then I went for a walk. Not a very long walk. It probably took me a few minutes. But I just thought I need to get out and have some fresh air. So I didn't even put on my coat or anything. I just walked basically to the end of the road, looked at the crocuses and walked back. Spring is here. The flowers are out.
Yeah, change is upon us, I suppose.
I do usually like winter, and autumn is one of my favorite times of year, really. But it is nice to finally come out of it this year. Like the dark days, they really start to get to me and stuff.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's definitely time. It's time it's gone, you know.
Yeah.
We've had enough. I went walking down the canal the other day. I never think of doing that. I don't know why. It's pretty close.
It's nice down there.
You know, there's no traffic noise, which is good. The only problem is I don't like doing a walk in a straight line and coming back on the same...
You want to do a circular walk, don't you?
Yeah.
I've walked into town before along the canal, and that's quite nice. The only thing that I would say is the houseboats. They use like petrol generators, so I got stuck behind a houseboat at one point, and it just felt like I was breathing in absolute horrible smog. It was awful. In the end, I just ran a little bit to get in front of it and get it behind me, and then I stopped, and started walking again. And then I noticed there was another boat ahead of me. I was like, oh my god. I'm going to have to try and stay in between these two boats.
Is that when you're walking at the same pace as someone in front of you, or very, very slightly quicker and you can't get past them? It's the same thing, isn't it? Except for, they're not farting diesel in your face. So.
Hopefully not.
Yeah. I liked yesterday's class a lot. I thought it was good.
Oh, I'm really glad.
I don't know if you stepped it up because it was just the A-team again, isn't it?
That was so random, wasn't it? We've had a few weeks in a row where it was like, quite a few people or whatever, and then bam, tiny little class. It just happens.
Yeah. Again, you don't take it personally, but it's
not at all.
You can always rely on one of... I don't think there's ever been a class that didn't have me or Kelly in it on that. Well, the ones I go to anyway, but I did enjoy yesterday's, but I did worry at the end when I thought she said bye. Because I didn't know, I thought, did we bond? I don't know if we bonded. Because you can't bond with the other people in the class very easily because you're the fulcrum of
I have
the
to
thing,
kind of
so,
pull you together.
Yeah. So, like Queen Bee or something. So we kind of had a three-way conversation for about 30 seconds, didn't we?
Yeah.
And I thought that she'd said goodbye to me personally at the end of it, and I just went.
Well, I think she said goodbye and laughed at the same time, so yeah, it was fine.
Oh, it was fine. I thought, I'll make another friend. That'd be good.
2 friends.
Yeah, that's, I don't know. Maybe I'd get on with it. I don't know. I mean, I'm actually doing some YouTube channel. They get a comedian on to talk about an artwork.
Oh, right.
So I'm doing that, apparently. It's 20 minutes long, and I haven't picked the artwork I'm going to do yet. I thought maybe I'll tell Kelly.
Oh, that sounds really interesting.
She can see me talk absolutely out of my arse about completely misinterpret, Munch or something. So, I don't know. You can do any artwork you like. So you could do a friend's piece of art. So get Kelly to send me some of her art, and I'll just
if you really wanted to, you could get in touch with her because it's all over her Instagram. Really nice. I'm sure she would be like.
I'm not going to talk about her art on the thing. I think that would be really.
Do you think it'd be a bit awkward?
Well, I don't know, because when I will prep for it, once I know what I'm doing, but I'm also going to try and have to write jokes about it that I can sort of stick in there. So I wouldn't want to do that with someone that I, one, barely know, and two, hasn't got the status for you that you wouldn't be punching up anyway. It doesn't matter if I take the piss out of Picasso. It doesn't matter, does it?
Yes, yeah, exactly. Really, you want to think about really famous artists, maybe someone who's not alive anymore.
Yeah. Can you libel people that are dead? Is that all right? I don't know. I'm not. It sounds like I'm desperate to be friends with her now, but I'm just like, I thought that was really, really true what she said about the fact that, you know, you to learn for a degree in the arts is obviously whoever fits the brief that they're set is not necessarily the one that, you know, thinks like an that sounds really pretentious, thinks like an artist, but you know, but I knew what she meant. Yeah,
if all you're doing is trying to please, you'll end up not really feeling very creative. You'll just be like, oh, this is what they want, so I'll do it. Or whatever, and it's a different mindset. You're
writing to a remit, or not writing to a remit, but you're creating to a remit, and it's different to. I mean, really, that's sort of the arts is about connections. I quite like Tracy Emin, and I don't think that she's good at drawing and stuff, but I think it's the fact that, you know, a lot of the stuff that she's done shows like a lot of vulnerability to her and stuff. That's what the connection is. It's not because she's amazing at drawing a picture.
Because a computer is better.
Yeah, actually, that's very true. Yeah, okay, yeah. I mean, I hope that computers don't replace comedians one day.
Have you seen that thing? It's like a bot, and you can tell it to bring back an inspirational quote, and then you can just refresh it, and it just brings back random words in a random order that it thinks might sound inspirational. I'm sure it was on something like QI or one of those big shows, and I went on it for a bit, and it was really quite funny because it kind of sounds inspirational, but then it's not really, it's not actually saying anything. That's what I think a robot comedian would be like. It'd be like, is that funny? I don't think it is.
But you're right, yeah, a robot could draw the best picture in the world, obviously, but would it mean anything?
Oh no, I quite like art because I'd like to just look at it and create feelings or ideas or whatever. And you could go at it from a really more ooh, that's really deep, or you could just be like, doesn't that look ridiculous? Who drew that? What were they thinking when they painted that? Is it a duck? Is it a bird? I don't know. I quite like it. I can understand maybe kind of looking at it from more of a maybe getting something else out of the painting by knowing more about the painter and the time period. But that doesn't necessarily mean that if someone who doesn't know all of that stuff looks at it is getting something wrong. There's not really a right or wrong, really, is it? I feel like I'm talking about mediums here now. You're getting something from the painting. I'm getting something. Someone's coming through. Hold on.
I'm getting postmodernist tones. I'm getting ennui. Yeah. Right. I'm not very good at art, so
neither am I.
So maybe I shouldn't be allowed to talk about it. I don't know, but
well, I can promise you that I can't do any art at all.
Haven't you done watercolors or something? I'm sure I've seen Instagram stories of
I did.
You painted carrots or something.
Carrots, best carrots ever.
Yeah, so you're down. You talk yourself down there. But...
No, really though, I'm not very good at anything like that, and. I tried to do I did the carrots, and I was so happy with the carrots that I tried to do a narwhal, and that came out
because
really badly.
A narwhal has almost got a carrot on it, hasn't it? It's just...
Well, it was just the next video in the little video tutorial of watercolor painting, and I thought, I'll try the narwhal, and then it was get your stencil out, and I was like, I don't have a stencil, I'll just freehand this. So yeah.
Well, I never saw the narwhal pop up on Instagram, so that kind of...
Because it didn't work out.
I'm not very good at drawing, I don't think. I mean, I do draw little cartoons, but they're passable in terms of you know what they are when you see them, but the onus is on the hopefully amusing aspect of it rather than the technical ability of me.
But that adds to the comedy a little bit, doesn't it? If you drew an absolutely perfect picture with beautiful eyebrows and eyelashes and were super detailed, I think it would take away from the comedy of the picture.
I think so, yeah, maybe. I mean, no one ever says that the Mona Lisa's funny, do they? So
Exactly.
I don't know what's so good about the Mona Lisa, really, but I'm sure it's fine. But
I think it's just because he got stuck on her lips for 10 years or whatever. It sounds to me like he just had a problem with decision-making.
That's what you're told, that's a great painting. Now, I think, Was it? I don't know.
Have you seen
I'm sure
it?
it is, but not in real life, no. Have you seen it in real life?
Yeah, I went to the Louvre, yeah.
Isn't it like behind like loads of panes of glass and like hundreds of tourists continually always in front of it and stuff?
So many tourists. And they're constantly shouting, no pictures, like over the heads of these like hundreds of tourists. And then there's constantly pictures just going off constantly and selfies and things. And I was just like, I just want to get out of here now, please. Because with being kind of short as well, I don't really like crowds, like tight crowds, because all I see are, shoulders and chests, and it's quite suffocating, to be honest.
You don't sit on Andrew's shoulders or something, like at a concert.
Yeah, exactly. I need someone to pick me up.
No crowd surfing. I'm not saying it's a bad painting, by the way. I'm just saying, like, this can't be like me has just said he can't really draw very well, saying the Mona Lisa's crap. But like, what I mean is, like, I don't know, like, automatically it affects your expectations of something. Yeah. Like, if you're told, oh, you're going to go and see a masterpiece, then, your reaction's either going to be, oh, is it? Or you're just going to go all in and say, I don't know. I don't know what I'm on about. But
I don't know. I prefer, like, things that are too famous tend to, just like you're saying, just be full of crowds and overdone. And you've probably seen the picture a million times online anyway, if it's a really famous painting. So I think it is better just to find ones that aren't as famous. I'm not saying that maybe if you were an art enthusiast, they would be just as famous. I don't know. But if you're not an art enthusiast, maybe they're not quite as famous to like the wider public, and enjoy those.
Yeah, it sounds like you're explaining where I am on the comedy circuit. What about asking if you can sing?
No.
You can't sing?
You don't want me to sing.
Okay. So I was thinking that if I wrote a theme tune for us to sing along to, you wouldn't be up for that.
Not unless your idea is to make the worst song ever.
Well, you play with the cards you've been dealt.
No, it's actually something that I'm not self-conscious as in like I don't want to do it, but like it's very common in yoga and yoga classes to chant. So like, I don't know how many yoga classes you've been to is in like a wide range, but a lot of styles will bring chanting into it. And even just a class that you might have like at a studio in the middle of the day might pop in a bit of chanting at the end, because that's very, well, I think they kind of touch into the Hindi or Hindu kind of side of it. So yoga does kind of stem from that. So I think that kind of links back to specifically that style. But it's not necessarily religious, but some chanting can be. So I tend not to do any chanting anyway. It's not something that I add very much into my classes. I think it puts a lot of people off, to be honest. I'm not saying that it doesn't have a place and that it's bad or anything like that. I love it, but I just know that it does put a lot of people off coming back. And I'm not trying to appeal to the masses or anything weird like that, but I actually don't like chanting because I cannot hold a tune.
Oh, right.
And people always say like, oh, don't worry about it. And you're right. If I'm in a class with 20 other people and the teacher starts chanting, sure, I'll join in. I don't care. I don't care what it sounds like. But if I'm leading the chant, it's not going to work.
Like getting up at karaoke or something.
Exactly. It's like, no, this isn't, nope. So I tend not to do very much chanting, and I'm sure that there'll be some teacher out there somewhere that'll be like, oh, no yoga with chanting, and I do apologize, but I just can't. I can't bring myself to try and lead the chanting when I just sound so bad. So there you go. So no music.
I would find that pretty off-putting, I think, chanting. Like, I'd feel like I'd have to join in, and I'd just go, it was like church again. I'd just be like, moving my lips a little bit. No, I'm not putting any effort into it, I'm just like paying literally lip service to it, but you enjoy chanting when you in the
definitely. I wouldn't mind.
Would you get out of that then? I mean, what's the logic behind?
Well, even just something as simple as like it's just like resonating, it's supposed to be, the pitch and stuff is supposed to be very connecting and resonating, and then the actual like word or whatever is supposed to connect you with your higher self. And the idea is that when you do it over and over and over again, you start to change your mindset a little bit. And well, they talk about in when they have scanned brains of people who have been like meditating for a really long time, or like monks that have been in not necessarily isolation from other people, but from the world is what I mean. Like, isolation is in like small enclosed little monk communities, if you will. And they, meditate a lot and stuff. And they've done tests and they've scanned brains, and they have slightly different wavelengths and stuff when they're in their meditation. And I think the idea of certain chants is that you can kind of try and get that a little bit quicker, maybe. But it's something to focus on. So even if you don't like making noise with your throat, if you were to constantly think that chant over and over and over and over again, almost like you're saying, is very similar to prayer, isn't it? The idea is that your brain isn't thinking about something else because it has to think about that. It's very hard to think about two things at the same time.
It's like having a mantra meditating, I suppose, isn't it? But I don't really do that style very often, but I have done a couple of guided meditations with koans, and they're, I guess, similar. I feel more comfortable with a koan than with a mantra.
And how do you feel they differ?
Well, okay. Well, how are you, being more of a expert in this? No?
I'm not going to answer for you.
Well, okay. Well, why don't you tell me what you consider a mantra to be, and I'll tell you why I think a koan differs from it, if it does.
Okay. I think a mantra is basically what I just said. I think that it's kind of like something that gives you some focus, but then also is supposed to be something a little bit spiritual. So maybe it's in a language that you don't speak. So it ends up being maybe connecting you to a different level or something like that. Quite a few people actually believe that Sanskrit and Hebrew are like holy languages. So they react differently in the body. I mean, I don't know what kind of science is behind that, but I think so there's multiple levels of where the mantra comes in, if that makes sense. So
it's a phrase, or it's a word or something to focus, but you wouldn't necessarily understand what it meant.
Yeah, I mean, you will normally get your mantra with a translation, in a sense. Like, you'll know what it means, but you won't use the English. You would use the whatever language you're using, usually Sanskrit.
Right. Okay. I guess a koan is, from my small dealings with it, they're phrases that are passed down, I think, from the Zen tradition.
Okay.
And they are used kind of as mantras. So you would just do your whole meditation session repeating the phrase in your head. They're not supposed to be riddles, I don't think, but they're not. They kind of feel like they are. Like the most famous koan is, "What's the sound of one hand clapping?"
Oh, okay.
And there's another one like, "The world is a grey pearl," or something like that.
And would you say that you try to think about them, or that you just say them in your mind over and over again?
I don't know. I don't think they have like real answers you can think about, because they're quite abstract. They're supposed to help you sort of become awakened, but I think they've tried and tested these, I think. I don't think they're just like, today we're just going to say this. Like, there's been trial and error. I imagine they've probably said some absolutely useless ones over the years as well. Like, I don't know what. There's anything nonsense, like something about rugby or something. They've probably tried loads of stuff and it's not worked. But the ones that stick are the one hand clapping, the pearl one, which is not grey pearl, but it's something like that. You know, they have a feel to them.
It kind of reminds me of art. Because you're not necessarily trying to do anything with it. You're just trying to see how it makes you feel. Yeah.
I think that's it. Exactly. Oh, good. That'll tie into some of that rubbish we were talking about earlier on. I think that is kind of what it is. So, yeah, and I feel like I'm more comfortable using... I don't know, maybe it sounds more snobbish to say, I'd rather use a koan than a useless mantra that means nothing.
Well, I think mantras end up being more finite in my mind. I kind of imagine, like, with the mantras that I've used, like so hum is very like I am. There's no if to it. There's no if statement. It is just they're just facts, they're just kind of like, trying to connect yourself to maybe your higher self or that kind of thing. But it's not, I like that. I think that's more contemplative, but not necessarily forced. Not necessarily you sit down to think about it, but yeah, it's a bit more open-ended. I like that. That's good.
There must be a massive overlap between
Yeah, I'm sure there will be. Well, there'll be two different things. So like you're saying, I mean, you're saying yours is Zen, so that's more, at the very least, Oriental, Far East. So we're thinking maybe Japan, but maybe not that far. I'm not 100%. But, you know, it would be at least that kind of style. Whereas if you pull back to mantras, that's coming back towards India and that area of the globe, because obviously that would be more Hindi and Buddhist related. Whereas Buddhism didn't get to Japan in that area for quite, you know, there's a gap. If you go back that far. So I would assume they're more separate, but similar, because things like this do tend to get similar. You know, religions have a lot of interlinking similarities between them if you go down to like core beliefs and, you know, that kind of thing. Like most religions will believe that you shouldn't kill people.
yeah.
I mean, pretty standard stuff.
Unless they're of the other religion, of course. I'm being facetious.
I know.
Yeah. I think it's one bright pearl. That's it, not a grey one. One bright pearl.
Oh, what does that mean about your psychology? If you go bright pearl to grey pearl, that's quite different, isn't it?
It says I'm boring, isn't it? Everything's grey. Or maybe everything's grey because I'm very ambivalent. Not ambivalent. I'm very agnostic about a lot of things because I'm like, it's not black and white. It's grey. I'm often saying that. It's just different shades of grey. That's when I feel sometimes it's dark grey and sometimes it's light grey. It means I sit on the fence too much.
I might try that. I think that sounds
What,
good.
a koan? Yeah, give it a go. Do what you want. I don't care. What was your coursework on? Was this the hard one that you just handed in?
Yeah. So I submitted it last night, 4 minutes before the deadline. As you do. So yeah, this one was on our nearest radio galaxy, so our nearest active galactic nucleus galaxy.
Did you say radio galaxy?
Yeah, radio galaxy. With an active black hole, so it's like shooting matter out. And it's called Centaurus A. And it was just a bit of research on that, and then analyzing the observations in multiple wavelengths. So not just optical, but the UV, far infrared, near infrared, X-rays, and radios. And then for each of those, trying to calculate the actual size of the features that we see. So taking the pixels, knowing how big the viewing angle is, so the field of view of the image gives you like arc seconds on the sky. And then you can use that to calculate how big that is in real life, so in parsecs. So like if you actually be there, how big would it be? It would be this big. Yeah, and then write about it. I'm always really hesitant when they say that, because they're like, oh, describe what you see. I'm like, I feel like I'm writing some sort of like alt text for a picture or something. It's a white background with a dark lobe-like shape and, you know, a little tail. I don't know. It's like, what? What am I saying?
So did they not have answers for this, or were they just? It sounds like it's interpretation rather than actually.
Indeed. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and even the like morphology. So like, you know, I don't know if you've ever heard of like the Hubble tuning fork diagram, but they decide like, so you have your spiral galaxies. Everybody knows spiral galaxies because the Milky Way is a spiral galaxy. And then you have like irregular galaxies, which is kind of blob, usually quite small. Then you have like elliptical galaxies, which are, as the name implies. And then this one specifically is between an elliptical and a lenticular galaxy. So they can't even decide on what they want it to be. So it's very interpretational, that's a word. It's a word now if it isn't. Basically, the accretion disk around the black hole, as the matter falls into it, or as the matter turns to light and then falls in, it ends up putting off a lot of energy. So the gravitational energy is really strong, and it shoots energy out. And you can see that in X-rays and radio waves. Mm. Well, I think the radio waves might be kind of as it's dispersing, but either way, you can see it as like jets or plumes coming out perpendicular to the disk. And the nearest one is Centaurus A, and that's still, how far away did we decide it was? 3.38 megaparsecs. So good day trip for your great.
If they're still here.
You have to build that generational ship now and get it off.
Well, that's interesting. I don't know how good that sounds on listening to it in some ways. You know what I mean?
Anything like that. That's why I don't talk about what I do, because if you don't really know it, it's not actually very interesting. It's interesting if you're doing it, but it's not something you can talk about.
You don't have a fellow astrologers astronomers
like Brian Cox or something.
Yeah, you don't have banter with people on your course or something about it, or I know it's a distance course anyway, isn't it? But
yeah, it's a bit different because it is a distance learning course, but we do have a discussion forum area that a lot of people tend to use and ask questions, and there is a little bit of back and forth and banter and discussion. But to be honest, because it is a university course, I feel like a lot of people are going down that route, similar to what we were saying with the art, that you're just trying to learn what you need to learn so that you can do your coursework, so that you can pass your degree. I feel like in terms of actually discussing what your opinion is, it's almost non-existent, to be honest.
I'm sorry, I'm not your intellectual equivalent on this, so I can't.
It's a very niche topic, to be honest. Yeah. It is pretty niche.
But it makes me worried that, because whenever you're really interested in something, I don't know, I love Bob Dylan, but if I talk to someone that doesn't care about Bob Dylan, I'm a very, very boring man.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
I always feel like me talking about Bob Dylan and being very happy to talk to someone about Bob Dylan and being very enthusiastic about it, and them not being interested, is often how I feel when people talk to me about their wedding.
Oh, God.
It's you might be excited about it, but you're making me spend £100 to come down there and, not work because it's at a weekend.
Oh, dear. Are you married?
No. Although the roofer keeps referring to us as husband and wife. When he was doing some work recently, he was speaking with Claire because I don't listen to information. So she has to talk to him about the actual, what are you doing? Because I'll just go, it's things you can do it. It's like when people give me directions, I cut. If someone gives me more than 2 directions, nah.
Left, right, left, nope, stop there.
That's it. If you go to 3 different directions, then I'll just stop listening then.
Is this going to show up in your yoga practice? Are you going to turn up on the mat and be like, right, left foot back, right arm forward, and then lean back, but you're not going to lean back because you stopped listening after 2 directions? Pretty
well, actually, no, because I would have been I would have been carrying out the first instruction.
Okay. So each one is new.
Yeah. On a rolling basis, I can do more than 2, but yeah. So the roofer, I was downstairs watching cricket or something, and he was just like, "Oh, is your wife want to come down?" And
oh, right.
When she was speaking to him, he was saying "Oh, what does your husband think?" And the first time he said that, she just laughed in his face. I know that sometimes people don't give you as much respect for your relationship when you're not married and you can't say husband and wife, but that's usually outside the relationship, not inside the relationship. But we don't want to get married anyway.
I think this is something we've discussed before, though, because I remember telling you that you should get married if you want to financially be secure. I don't think marriage is a romantic thing, to be perfectly honest. I think you should only do it if you want that security financially and...
Or in your case, a green card.
Hey, I'm a citizen now.
Yeah, I know that, but there's a way into that.
No, yeah, we did have to get married, which is why we got married when I was 19.
We've got to go in a minute, haven't we?
Yes, I do need to go really anyway, go. But I didn't want it to cut off while we're mid-recording.
No, we should go now, I suppose. But
okay, then.
Okay.
Great.
It's been nice talking to you.
Yeah, I think that was a good chat. It was good.
Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to share, like, subscribe. That's what they say, don't they? People that have podcasts, that's what they always say. Share, like, subscribe, big 3, press that button, all that stuff. Stuff that people like me say, I guess. Right. Follow me on social media if you want. I'm on Twitter at Peter_Brush or Instagram at PeterBrush_. You can follow Kayla on social media as well. She's on Instagram at Kayla McCormack Yoga or on Twitter at Kayla McCormack 5. If you are worried about spellings, check our show description and you will find the correct letters in the right order. We'll see you next time, hopefully. I mean, that's kind of up to you. I mean, we'll be here, but, if you want to join, then you're very welcome. As always, have a good rest of your whatever you're doing with yourself. today. Maybe going to bed. I don't know, in which case, sweet dreams. Yeah, let's just call this a day.